You really love yourself, or do you just think you love yourself? Because when you love someone, you protect them, right? And most people have a sense of misunderstanding. They think oppression is protection, and I did too. And well, you see, if you protect someone, but they don't want you to protect them, it is quite selfish of you to still try to protect them. And even though, in the grand scheme of things, oppression would have kept them safe, for the person you are trying to protect, it would feel nothing more or nothing less than a prison. And what you need to realize is we take advice, we take relationship advice, we take, friendship advice, whatever it is, but we forget to apply all of those things to ourselves. I know I'm sounding like I'm gonna cry, but it's just because I have a fever, my voice is tripping. I'm not crying. Alright. The thing is, you need to love yourself and actually love yourself. When you love someone, you try to protect them. And, for you, it's not like you don't want to protect yourself. Of course, you want to protect yourself. So, truly, the person you can love the most without any barriers is yourself. But people often mistake loving themselves for being hedons, right? Who is a hedon? Someone who always chases pleasure and avoids pain. But you see, avoiding pain also avoids growth. Avoiding tragedy, avoiding adversity will only result in you becoming softer. And if the times do get tough, and times always get tough, so when the times do get tough, you are gonna struggle. And there's a chance, you have to take care of your own people. And if you can't do that, that's bad. And, it would be a very shameful thing to not be able to protect the ones you love in a time where they actually need you to protect them. And, what do you think respect is? It's when you promise someone something and then you keep your promise. It's when you say you're going to do something and you do it for that person. That's respect. So why not do that for yourself? I've said a lot of times that I'm going to, stop the scrolling and stop the lust for stuff and stop being like egoistic and, all that stuff. But I've struggled with it, and I am still struggling with it. And that is probably because I don't respect myself enough. Which doesn't make any sense, right? Because it can change any moment. And I can start respecting myself like right now. And the trajectory of my life changes. But it just doesn't happen. Right? Change isn't just in the snap of a finger or whatever. Change happens gradually. And I feel like I have gained more respect for myself than I had back in the day. Because back in the day, what was I doing? And I was just scrolling, just texting girls, and just being an idiot. And it's like, that's a very shallow life. But then I went through one of the hardest times of my life. I had to give probably one of the most important exams of my life while I couldn't sleep, while I had no appetite, while I was heartbroken, and while I had a broken heart. Those are two different things, by the way. One is metaphorical and one is literal. But the thing is, I overcame that, and after that was when I actually developed respect for myself, because I went through the tough times and I came out winning. But one thing I remember was that I didn't do it out of hatred, I didn't do it out of ego. I still do have a big ego with respect to thinking that I am just smarter and better than a lot of people, because I actually give myself space to think, unlike most people. But you see, people aren't so different from each other, I'm not so different from you. At the end of the day, we're both human. And even though some people are evil, you have to realize that manipulating someone, that doing something bad, that harming someone, even though it makes you feel like you have power, you will feel bad over time, right? Because it's a futile endeavor to try to feel better about yourself by putting down someone else. And putting down someone else isn't always bullying. It's going to be breaking promises. It's going to be lying about them, spreading rumors about them, or even in general, just talking bad about them, even though there's just no reason to. Right? I can talk bad about a lot of people in my life, but I don't. Right? There's been countless numbers of dogshit people, and even while those people were hurting me, all I did was love them. But still, I feel like I have some sort of an ego, because recently I was on this grind to get to 1100 in chess, and I was staying up nights just grinding chess. I played about around like just below 600 games, like 575, and I eventually got there. But it was just a bunch of hating myself for not being as smart as I thought I was and all that stuff. And it's like, of course, I hadn't played chess seriously for years, and now suddenly I just expect to get better at it. Like, that is an egoistic thing. And you have to focus, and you have to let go of your ego, because ultimately, at least I believe so, there is nothing better than God, right? And if God is on your side, then you don't have to be afraid of anything. I believe God is on my side because, firstly, I'm pretty lucky being born in a middle class family living in Mumbai, but also because every hardship I faced has been sort of, even though it can be considered really disgusting and really bad, every hardship I've faced was a first world problem. I wasn't being bombed when I was 2 years old. I wasn't, having polio or all that stuff, right? And people, right? There was this one guy I once watched his videos on YouTube. He was a burn victim. He was just, I believe he was driving and someone crashed into him, and he 90% of his body was burned, and he still overcame. He started doing his YouTube stuff. He actually gained about, I think it was a little less than 50,000 subs. He's sharing his story, talking to us about his journey and all the hardships he's faced, but he's still come out. And bad things do happen, so you have to be grateful, and you have to do things from a place of love. If you love yourself, you're gonna want to improve yourself. You're gonna want to push yourself to be better. And of course you have your own consent, because you are you. So it can never be oppression if it's coming out of love for yourself.
Unstoppable.
But most people just ignore it. And I feel like I am speaking from a very high point, because I haven't faced adversity to the point where I don't know if I'm going to be able to eat tomorrow. And if I'm being quite frank with you, I don't think that if my mom and dad die today and there's nobody else to take care of me, that I have the necessary skills to feed myself. I'm not particularly strong, so construction is like almost out. I mean, I can be like a house worker, but most people have kids, and a teenage boy is probably the last thing you want, in your house when you have kids around, because the things that happen to me could happen to someone else from me. Well, probably. There's still a chance. I'm not saying I'm a pedophile, but they could think I am. The thing is, you always have the choice to be happy. I've seen people who have been through hella dog shit and still come out smiling. And one of those people is me, but I've noticed, I'm resorting to my bad habits, and, even though they feel good in the moment, it's just over time it harms you. And this fever has made me realize how lucky I truly am. Because, as you know, a fever is like pregnancy for women. Like, a fever for dudes hurts as much as pregnancy for women. That's like 100% factual statement. I'm definitely not over-exaggerating. And even though I am having a fever, right, if I was, me from like a year ago, I would genuinely crash out at God. And it's not even me from a year ago. It's even me from like 3 weeks ago. And I'm pretty sure I was mocking God and just being rageful about how he's just ruined my life by putting me in like weird ass traumatic situations ever since I was a child, because I couldn't get to 1100 in chess. That's a very pathetic reason to crash out at the one who's supposed to love you the most. It apparently loves you the most. I mean, I can never really know if God is real, but I do believe he is real, because you would have to be like a top 10 retard to actually write so many religious books. Like, it just doesn't make any sense. And maybe there's an alien civilization taking control of us by, yapping about some historical books and shit. And it's like making us believe that, God is real and stuff. And the thing is, God helps. My faith in God, my belief in God has actually been one of the things that have, led me up to this point where I still make videos, where I still study. Even though it's little, I still study. I'm still doing some things on the side. And, ultimately, you can't really distinguish winning from losing, because you just get what you get from the work that you do on a very basic scale. Like, if you don't factor in luck and risk, you just get what you get from the work that you do if you're doing it right. If you train like Kobe Bryant, of course you're going to be the next Kobe Bryant of basketball if you have like similar genetics and all that stuff. And, it's like if you work enough, you win, and if you don't work enough, you lose. So even if I win, I did work a lot, and I, spend a lot of my time just plain working. And if I don't truly enjoy the work, then did I really win? Because I just spent a copious amount of time doing something that I didn't want to do, just for a confirmation that I'm worth something by winning. I don't know, maybe I'm doing it for the money. Then it's different, because providing for your family is something all of us love doing, unless you have a very dog shit family. And all of these factors come into play, but sometimes you just have to realize that you love yourself, and you are gonna keep loving yourself, and you're gonna respect yourself, and you're gonna do what you tell yourself you're gonna do, and you're gonna get rid of those stupid addictions, because you have one life, and you are not gonna let it go to ruin. One life, you gotta make it. You gotta make it yours, you gotta make it big, you gotta make it great. Because that's who we are. That's who we are. Good night.